Hello and welcome back to the GCN Racing News Show. Lloydie is off on a secret mission with cycling royalty this week, so you're stuck with me. But road racing is back. We'll recap both the men's and women's editions of the Santos Tour Down Under, which returned to our screens for the first time since 2020. The likes of Remco Evenepoel, Egan Bernal and Miguel Angel Lopez have all kicked off their seasons at the Vuelta at San Juan. We'll check out the first stages there. However, the cyclo-cross season is still in full swing with the World Championships on the horizon, and Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel were among the riders present at the latest round in the World Cup in Benidorm. And, at long last, Mark Cavendish has a team. That and more on this week's Racing News Show. And to start, after seemingly endless rumours, we finally learned that Mark Cavendish does have a team for the 2023 season. He's joined up with Astana, Kazakhstan, and it's official this time. He'll start his season at the Tour of Oman before heading to the UAE Tour. Shortly after the big Cav announcement, Cees Bol was also announced as a new Astana recruit. He'll surely be used as the all-important lead-out rider and could be crucial if Cav is to break that looming Tour de France stage record. I expect both to be spitting some rhymes in the upcoming Astana Rap too. But now, the Tour Down Under has returned. Let's start with the men's race, and for the first time in Tour Down Under history, the race began with a 5.5-kilometre prologue. Now, I usually love a time trial to shake up the GC at the start of a race, but this one was heavily impacted by the weather. The early starters enjoyed the benefit of dry conditions, and that helped Alberto Bettiol fly around the course, taking more risks along the way. The rest of the stage favourites dealt with a damp road and were some way off the Italian, thus he claimed the first ochre jersey. Stage 1 then saw the first sprint stage of the race. After a chaotic lead-out where Michael Matthews was placed well by his Jayco Aluha teammates, Phil Bauhaus got the jump on the Aussie and struck out for victory. Caleb Ewan, who was riding for the Australian national team rather than his trade team Lotto Destiny, was poorly positioned. Despite that, Ewan fought back like a rocket, but his late surge could only give him runners-up, whilst Matthews was third. As an aside, I wanted to talk about James Knox, who was disqualified on stage 1. He was involved in a nasty high-speed crash, but was able to continue after it was deemed he hadn't suffered a concussion. The DQ came about because Knox slipstreamed behind a vehicle in order to get back to the peloton. Now, rules are rules, but often a blind eye is turned to this sort of thing, particularly if a rider has been involved in a crash or had a mechanical, a bit of assistance to help them get back to where they were. Without slipstreaming behind a vehicle, if a rider is held up by a crash or mechanical problem at the start of a particularly fast stage, they'd be outside the time limits as they'd never get back on. Unless, of course, they're a team leader and the rest of the team drops back to help. Added to that, with the new concussion protocol, riders are going to lose even more time before they can get back on and start chasing. It's a rule that really needs looking at and better defining, in my opinion. Knox himself made the following statement on Twitter regarding the incident, and I'll be very interested in hearing your thoughts in the comments as well. Anyway, back to the race, and stage 2 featured the first major climb in Nettle Hill, and with Wollonga Hill not included on the route this year, it would be even more crucial. Jay Vine attacked, and only Simon Yates, Jai Hindley, Rowan Dennis and Mara Schmid could follow. The quintuplet worked well together despite Yates sitting on after Michael Matthews was caught behind after an unfortunate mechanical. Yates did finally start contributing though, and with the majority of riders wary of taking the speedy Schmid to the line, Rowan Dennis attacked with half a kilometre remaining. The two-time TT World Champ struck out at the perfect moment and left the rest of the group in his wake, claiming the ochre jersey from Alberto Bettiol in the process. And speaking of Bettiol, we also learned that he doesn't take too kindly to being filmed whilst cramping. The Italian was fined 1,000 Swiss francs and docked 50 UCI ranking points for the incident. Anyway, stage 3 came about and it was the renowned corkscrew climb followed by a downhill run into Campbelltown. The race had an identical finish in 2014, 2016 and 2019, and in those years, 1, 10 and 20 riders finished in the front group respectively. So, everyone knew it would be a critical stage in the GC. Again, Simon Yates and Jay Vine came to the fore and it looked like the duo would duke out the stage win too. However, Pale Bilbao paced his effort on the uphill section to perfection, joining Yates and Vine just before they crested the climb. The trio then flew downhill, and it soon became clear that Vine was all in to gain time in the general classification, foregoing his chances in the sprint. Bilbao out-kicked Yates, with the Spaniard winning in his first Tour Down Under appearance. Bilbao then gave this rather comedic interview as well.
I had some difficulties to join Yates and the UAE guy, and yes, I have to go in my pace as usually do, and then join them in the last 300 meters that they knew that was going to be easier, and there maybe he was going to relax a bit, but they did such a fast ascent that for me it was difficult to arrive. And then I did just my sprint in the top, and I knew that I was going to have good possibilities now.
The penultimate stage finished in Wollonga Township, and a false flat drag to the line would provide the final chance for the pure sprinters. Crosswinds disrupted the day, but all of the key protagonists were present for the finale. However, it was Alexis Reynard and Cofidis rounding the final corner in the lead position. He was leading out Brian Coquard. The Frenchman left the rest of the field in his wake and won by some distance, finally attaining the first World Tour victory of his career. Coquard was clearly ecstatic after crossing the line, and many riders from a range of teams were on hand to congratulate him. It really is staggering to think that he has never won a World Tour race before. The victory marked the 49th of Coquard's career, meaning that just over 2% of his total career wins have come in the World Tour now. He's also had 7 runners-up placings in the World Tour races, including 3 at Grand Tours. Personally, I particularly remember stage 4 of the 2016 Tour de France, where Coquard was literally centimetres away from winning the stage, but lost out to Marcel Kittel by the narrowest of margins. So, it makes sense that Coquard was so elated to get that particular monkey off his back. On to the final stage of the race though, and the riders would tackle a circuit which featured Mount Lofty. The largest breakaway of the race went clear, but they were never given more than around 45 seconds. Ethan Hayter punctured, which destroyed his GC chances, but Simon Yates launched on the final ascent of Mount Lofty with just under 2 kilometres left. Only a couple of riders could follow the Brit again, the unbreakable Jay Vine and Ben O'Connor. Vine just had to follow to win the race. He also went for the stage win though, but Yates timed his effort well to breeze past the Australian with 50 metres to go. Yates won the first Tour Down Under stage of his career, whilst Vine won his first stage race. And I do want to talk about Jay Vine a little here. He just keeps evolving into a more confident and accomplished figure in the pro peloton. Despite Simon Yates' best efforts, Vine looked in control of the leader's jersey throughout. He's already demonstrated his time trialling prowess by winning the Aussie TT just a few weeks ago. So the Giro d'Italia is his goal this season. What do you think he can achieve there? His teammate Joao Almeida is also targeting the race, but if Vine continues at his current level, surely he deserves to start the race as a dual leader. The Giro start list is set to be pretty spectacular, with Remco Evenepoel, Primož Roglic and Geraint Thomas all targeting the race. So, let me know in the comments, what do you think Jay Vine can achieve in May? Could he be a cheeky dark horse for the Maglia Rosa? Well, if nothing else, I'm sure Pello Bilbao knows who he is now.
Yeah, the UAE guy.
And now to the women's race. We brought you up to speed on the first 2 stages on last week's show, but we still had the final stage and the corkscrew climb to come. Trek Segafredo's Amanda Spratt went clear and crested the climb solo. She looked set to claim the overall victory after Alex Manley fell behind in the ochre jersey. However, Grace Brown was in pursuit and she caught Spratt with no more than 1 kilometre to go. Brown then outsprinted Spratt to win both the stage and the Tour Down Under for the first time in her career. Amanda Spratt's efforts earned her 2nd overall, while Georgia Williams was 3rd. Anyway, back to the cyclo-cross. The penultimate round of this year's World Cup occurred in Benidorm, and the crowds were out in full force. Let's start with the women's race, where 4 riders came to the fore: Fem van Empel, Puck Pieterse, Shirin van Amrooy, as well as Sylvia Persico. However, Van Empel and Pieterse created separation over their rivals. The leading duo battled to take the final corner in first place, with Van Empel finally managing to create some distance on her rival before the sprints and coming out on top. Pieterse was a close second, with Van Amrooy ending 3rd. Now to the men's race, where we had an equally exciting lineup. Despite Van der Poel and Van Aert's presence, it was a close affair with Laurens Sweeck and Elie Iserbyt in contention until the final lap. In the end though, Van Aert and Van der Poel struck clear, and despite several attempts from Van Aert to overtake, it was Van der Poel who rounded the final corners in first place and was able to keep his rival at bay in the final sprint. Van der Poel has struggled with his recurring back injury in recent weeks, but he dispelled any myths that he wouldn't be able to compete with Van Aert at the upcoming World Championships. And talking of the World Championships, my appetite has only been whetted by two brilliant races. Iserbyt would manage third on the day with Sweeck in fourth. That result mathematically sealed the World Cup overall victory for Laurens Sweeck with 1 round still to go. Despite a blistering start, Tom Pidcock faded to fifth in what was his final race on the cyclo-cross fields this season and in the rainbow jersey. Shout out to Tim Merlier, who took his first cyclo-cross win since 2014 at the Exact Cross in Zonnebaker. He got the better of Ryan Kamp and David van der Poel. Denise Betzmer elected not to make the trip to Spain and took the win in the women's race ahead of Marion Norbert Riberola and American Austin Killips, who was delighted to secure the first European podium of her career. Back to the road, and we also had the opening stage of the Vuelta at San Juan yesterday. The first stage was set to be a sprinter showdown with Fabio Jakobsen, Sam Bennett and Fernando Gaviria all in contention. World champion Remco Evenepoel was leading the Soudal Quick-Step train with 1 kilometre to go when the road split in two. All of the Quick-Step train were caught on the left and the wrong side of the road, bar Michael Morkov. The Dane darted to the correct side just in time. This put Fabio Jakobsen and a number of other riders out of contention. From there, Danny van Poppel delivered a lead-out masterclass, and Sam Bennett struck out to victory ahead of Morkov and Giacomo Nizzolo. And coming up on GCN Plus this week, the Vuelta at San Juan will of course continue and is available to watch everywhere except for Latin America. Bear in mind that that is one of the few stage races outside of the Grand Tours that has a rest day, so there won't be a stage to watch on Thursday. Nonetheless, the GC battle in Argentina is set to be an exciting one with Egan Bernal, Sergio Higuita, Dani Martinez, Miguel Angel Lopez and Evenepoel all present. The key GC day comes on Friday. Stage 5 finishes atop the Alto del Colorado. It's not the steepest climb, but does finish at a whopping 2,600 metres, and that altitude could create severe gaps in the general classification. We've also got the Challenge Mallorca starting on Wednesday, a series of 5 back-to-back one-day races which, this year, are being broadcast live for the first time in decades. Julian Alaphilippe, João Almeida and Biniam Girmay are among the stars that we expect to see make their season debuts there. No restrictions at all on those races, and neither is there on the Grand Prix La Marseillaise, which is on this Sunday. The start list is a little less clear at the moment, but one rider expected to attend is Inux's Tobias Harlan Johannesson, a very exciting climber who I'm looking forward to watching this season. Like the Santos Tour Down Under, the K11's Great Ocean Road Race returns for the first time since 2020. We can expect to see a similar start list to the Tour Down Under, with the likes of Simon Yates, Jay Vine and Alex Manley all already confirmed. That will be available this Sunday too. Territory restrictions do apply though. Beyond road racing, Sunday also marks the final round of the UCI CX World Cup, and the only round in France this year. Again, there are some territory restrictions though, so please check if it's available where you are. Meanwhile, our documentary this week is Race of the Future Part 2. The doc delves inside the 2022 Tour de l'Avenir, which is where many of cycling's greatest talents make their mark on the sport. I know some of you have already watched part 1, and I'm sure that, like me, you can't wait to watch the conclusion. If you haven't watched part 1, it's available right now on GCN+, so you have time to catch up before part 2 is released tomorrow. We'd love your feedback as well, so let us know what you thought in the comments. Now, the Giro d'Italia announced which teams would be receiving a wildcard this week. Among them, Italian pro team Team Corotec. With that announcement, they were linked to Nairo Quintana, who is, of course, still available on the market. However, since those rumours came to light, Corotec's manager, Serge Pisani, has responded and explained that the team, barring some kind of miracle, won't be able to sign Quintana for the 2023 season. We don't have the financial means for someone like him, and there are also many obstacles, so we didn't continue the conversation, Pisani told Mundo Ciclistico magazine. So, Could Corotec have a different signing in the works? Perhaps Domenico Pozzovivo? The 40-year-old is yet to sign with the team for the current season. Final bits of news for you now, and Biniam Girmay has set out his main goals for 2023. His early season targets are the 3 monuments Milan-San Remo, the Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix. And then the Eritrean will be heading to the Tour de France for the first time in his career. Peter Sagan has also set his sights on Milan-San Remo, a race that of course has eluded the Slovak to this point throughout his illustrious career. Right, that's all we have time for this week. I hope you're enjoying the return of road racing just as much as I am. We'll be back next week to round everything up. Goodbye for now.